And the Lord said unto Noah, Come thou and all thy house into the ark, for thee have I seen righteousness before me in this generation. Of every clean beast thou shalt take by sevens, the male and his female, and of the beasts that are not clean by two, the male and his female, of fowls also of the air by sevens, the male and the female, to keep seed alive upon the face of all the earth. For yet 7 days, and I will cause it to rain upon the earth 40 days and 40 nights. And every living substance that I have made will I destroy from off the face of the earth. And Noah did according unto all that the Lord commanded him. And Noah was 600 years old when the flood of the waters was upon the earth. Just notice the 6 and the 7s. And Noah went in, and his sons and his wife and his sons' wives with him into the ark, because of the waters of the flood. Of clean beast and of beasts that are not clean, and of fowls, and of every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth. Like lions and tigers and bears and the crickets and stuff. But there's also these clean beasts, and of beasts that are not clean. And then it talks about the fowls of the air. And then it talks about every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth. There went in 2 and 2 unto the ark, unto Noah into the ark, the male and the females, as God has commanded Noah. And it came to pass after 7 days that the waters of the flood were upon the earth. So there's 7 days, and then you're going to know that. In other words, Noah had 7 days before he knew to get into the ark, and that it was going to rain for the next 40 days. So basically a 47-day warning. In the 600th year of Noah's life, in the 2nd month, the 17th day of the month, the same day were all the fountains of the great deep broken open, and the windows of heaven were open. Windows of heaven are open. And the rain was upon the earth 40 days and 40 nights. In the selfsame day entered Noah and Shem and Ham and Japheth, the sons of Noah, and Noah's wife, and 3 wives of his sons with them into the ark. Like everybody, basically. Everybody that's clean of the 7s. They, who had just mentioned, and every beast after his kind, and all the cattle after their kind, and every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth after his kind, and every fowl after his kind, and every bird of every sort. And they went unto Noah into the ark, 2 and 2 of all flesh, wherein is the breath of life. And they that went in male and female of all flesh, as God had commanded him, and the Lord shut him in. And the flood was 40 days upon the earth, and the waters increased and bare up the ark, and it was lifted up above the earth. And the waters prevailed. Waters, it's also gospel, the truth. And the waters prevailed and were increased greatly upon the earth, and the ark went upon the face of the waters. And the waters prevailed exceedingly upon the earth. And all the high hills that were under the whole earth were covered. 15 cubits upward did the waters prevail, and the mountains were covered. And all flesh died that moved upon the earth, died in Christ. And both of the fowl, of the cattle, the beast, and every creeping thing creep on earth, and every man, all in whose nostrils was the breath of life, and all that was in the dry land died. Of all that was in the dry land died. Because when the waters are abated, it's not dry just yet. The waters, when they're abated, the gospel is going to be shut down completely. That's when the waters are going to be abated. When the land is dry, that's when everybody is cleansed, because we're talking about a couple different waters here. The cleansing, being cleansed by the Holy Spirit, is a water. When you're dry, when you get out of the shower, you have your white robe, and you have your towel, and you wipe off, and then you're dry, you're clean, you're cleansed. And also the water, when it's abated from off the earth, that means that there's going to be no more truth. And of every living substance was destroyed, which was upon the face of the ground, both man and cattle, and the creeping things, and the fowls of the heaven, and they were destroyed from the earth, and Noah only remained alive. So obviously he wasn't the only one alive, so it sounds like a contradiction, right? And they that were with him in the ark. And the waters prevailed upon the earth 150 days. And God remembered Noah and every living thing, and all the cattle that was with him in the ark, and God made a wind to pass over the earth, and the waters assuaged. To lessen the intensity of something that pains or distress, to ease, to assume an implacable foe, to put an end to by satisfying, like a quench. Your thirst is quenched. So God made a wind pass over the earth, and the waters were either quenched, or there was less intensity of the waters. The fountains also of the deep and the windows of heaven were stopped, and the rain from heaven was restrained. So, stopped, the windows of heaven being stopped, in my view, is the gospel being stopped completely. The rain from heaven was restrained. Not on actual earth, the water itself, the rain. And the waters returned from the earth, from off the earth continually. So these waters, this gospel is returned from off the earth. Like off of the face of the planet, you know what I mean? Like continually. Basically off the earth, these waters, this gospel will be off the freaking earth continually. And after the end of the 150 days, the waters were abated. And ark rested in the 7th month on the 17th day of the month upon the mountains of Ararat, the 7th month and the 17th day. And the waters decreased continually until the 10th month. In the 10th month, on the 1st day of the month, were the tops of the mountains seen. And it came to pass at the end of 40 days that Noah opened the window of the ark which he had made, and he sent forth a raven, which went forth to and fro until the waters were dried up from off the earth. So being dried up, again, if you take a shower and you get dried up with your towel, you are now fully, you're zestfully clean, okay? Also, he sent forth a dove from him to see if the waters were abated. So, also, he sent forth a raven until everything was dried up. The raven was sent until everything was dried up from off the earth. And he sent forth a dove from him to see if the waters were abated from off the face of the ground. But the dove found no rest for the sole of her foot, and she returned unto him into the ark, for the waters were on the face of the whole earth. The waters on the face of the whole earth. It's still here. It's just going to be shut down electronically. But the waters will be on the face of the whole earth. The entire earth is going to know this gospel right here. Then he put forth his hand and took her and pulled her in unto him into the ark. That typifies salvation, because he put forth his hand, like God, and took her and pulled her in unto him into the ark. Safety. And he stayed yet other 7 days. Now, there was a warning about the first 7 days, and then after these 40 days, and it came to pass at the end of 40 days that Noah opened the window of the ark which he had made, and he sent forth a raven to go forth to and fro until the waters were dried up from off the earth. And he also sent a dove to see, when the waters were going to be abated. There's two different meanings here. From off the face of the ground, being dried up, completely cleansed, abated, which is going to dissipate because these waters are going to be abated really soon. But the dove found no rest for her soul, for her foot, and she returned unto him to the ark, for the waters were on the face of the whole earth. Then he put forth his hand and took her and pulled her in unto him into the ark. And he stayed yet other 7 days. It's all about the sevens. Take the clean beast by sevens. And again he sent forth the dove out of the ark. So 7 days beforehand they were warned. 40 days it rained. And 7 days after this, the dove came to him in the evening, and lo, in her mouth was an olive leaf plucked off. So Noah knew the waters were abated from off the earth. Noah knew when the waters were abated from off the earth. Noah knew. And it's going to be the same as it was in the days of Noah, right? And he stayed yet other 7 days, and sent forth the dove, which returned not again unto him any more. So even though he knew, this olive leaf plucked off, sounds like there's like some kind of peace going on here, because that's when Noah knew the waters were abated from off the earth. But he stayed yet other 7 days. So he still stayed 7 days. When the waters are abated from off the earth, you're still going to stay other 7 days. And sent forth the dove, which returned not again to him anymore. And it came to pass in the 600th year, the first year, in the first month, the first day of the month, the waters were dried up from off the earth. And Noah removed the covering of the ark, and looked, and behold, the face of the ground was dry. And in the second month, on the 27th day of the month, was the earth dried. So there's a 10-day tribulation period, right? Isn't there a 10-day? Isn't that what second Revelations 2 talks about? There's a 10-day tribulation period. But on the second month, on the 27th day of the month, so that would mean on the 17th day of the month would be the beginning of 10 days. And God spoke unto Noah, saying, Go forth of the ark, thou and thy wives and thy sons' wives with thee. Bring forth with thee every living thing that is with thee of all flesh. Both of fowl and of cattle and of every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth, that they may breed abundantly in the earth, and be fruitful, and multiply upon the earth. And Noah went forth, and his sons, and his wife, and his sons' wives with him, every beast. Don't be afraid of the beasts of the earth. Every creeping thing, and every fowl, and whatsoever creepeth upon the earth, after their kind, went forth out of the ark. And Noah built an altar unto the Lord, and took of every clean beast, and of every clean fowl, and offered burnt offerings to the altar. And the Lord smelled the sweet savor, and the Lord said in his heart, I will not again curse the ground any more for man's sake. For the imagination of man's heart is evil from his youth. We were born evil. Neither will I again smite any more everything living as I have done, while the earth remaineth, seed time and harvest, and cold and heat, and summer and winter, and day and night shall not cease. The second month, on the 27th day, the first month, the first day of the month, the waters were dried up from off the earth. And Noah removed the covering of the ark, and looked, and behold, the face of the ground was dry. And, in other words, after that, in the second month, on the 27th day of the month, was the earth dried. So the second month, 27th day. Now, let me just assume that he's talking about the second month and the 27th day of the actual second month, because there's calendars galore. So let's just, I'm going to go with the second month and the 27th day. Once the waters are abated, you know, like New Year's, it's like the waters recede, but then the waters also prevail. So it's talking about two different waters that at two different times, because to me, as it recedes, the truth is getting cut off. However, the waters, the gospel, will prevail and cover the entire face of the earth. All right, so you know that there's 40 days of rain. January 18th. There's also, for yet in 7 days, the floods will come upon the earth. So now we're at January 11th. But isn't there also a 10-day tribulation period? The only reason I'm showing is because it does line up when you take it literally, okay? I mean, I'm just going to take this literally. A lot of other things I take spiritually. This one I'll just take literally. It's literally the second month and the 27th day of the month. That's when the earth will be dried. So in Genesis 7, and it came to pass after 7 days that the waters of the flood were upon the earth. In the 600th year, you know, like the sixth seal of Noah's life, in the second month and the 17th day of the month, which is 10 days less than the 27th day of the month in chapter 8. The same day were all the fountains of the great deep broken open, and the windows of heaven were opened. The windows of heaven are open in this second month on the 17th day of the month. The self same day, the fountains of the great deep broke open. Remember, the waters are going to prevail, but they're going to be abated first, and then they're going to be dried. It's like, is that all three in one? Three witnesses there, or blood, spirit, water? And the windows of heaven were opened, and the rain was upon the earth 40 days and 40 nights. This is where, as I read it, I don't look at it as a continuance from this point on. It's the second month, the 17th day of the month. I just see the Bible jumps back and forth. The verses jump back and forth. And a lot of times what people do is they read it continually, like in chronological order. All right, so if the waters are abated, like I believe that they will be in like 2 days, if we have yet 7 days for the warning, January 8th. So if we're given the warning about 40 days, the rain that's going to prevail, because our gospel will be abated. For 40 days, the rain will prevail. The second month and the 17th day of the month. The second month, 17th day of the month. That's when the windows of heaven will be majorly opened. Whatever second month this is, and the 17th day of the month, the windows of heaven are going to be open big time. And you got those 10 days. The second month, the 27th day of the month. The second month, the 27th day of the month, the earth was dried, cleansed. This is another interesting one. The seventh month, the ark rested in the seventh month on the 17th day of the month upon the mountains of Ararat. That's when it rested, the seventh month, the 17th day. And the waters decreased continually, because they're going to continue to decrease. So in the seventh month, the 17th day of the month, that's when the ark rested. All right, nation of Israel became a nation May 14th, 1948. 70 years are determined upon thy people. Seventh month, 17th day of the month. New Year's Eve. I'm just taking, you know, hey, I was told that I need to take the Bible literally more often, so I will literally take these numbers and say it's talking about our actual calendar this time around in the end. So that's why I believe that when the ark is resting upon the mountain, that it's the same time that it's being, the waters are abated. And then after this, the waters need to prevail, because we'll know that we have 7 days to get into the ark, and the waters are gonna prevail for 40 days. And then the windows of heaven are going to be open tremendously. The windows of heaven, they're going to be stopped at one point and restrained, and then they're going to be open. So it's going to be stopped first, abated, and then it's going to be open, and in the end, it'll be dried. The entire earth will be dried, cleansed. Chapter 7, you know, it's all about the sevens. Take thee by sevens. Every clean beast, human being, okay, human being, thou shalt take thee by sevens. The male and his, you know, wife. And of the beasts that are not clean, only by 2, the male and his female. And of the fowls also err by sevens. So it's constant sevens, and then the 600th year, the 6 representing the 6th seal. The flood of the waters was upon the earth. I wouldn't be acting like 2 Peter if I didn't remind you guys about May 21st, 2011 and October 21st, 2011. The continuance of dates that so many people just hate to hear, because you don't want to hear that the elite have a date, right? I mean, I do want to hear that. I want to hear the elite's date, and I like to know what the elite's date is, but I also like to know what God's date is also, and it's usually right after the elite's date. So it's all about the sevens. So we'll start with the first one. 7 years, 7 months. We're the 7th month and the 17th day, or just 777. Seventeenth day. Government shutdown, partial. The rest is coming. 10 days after this. But what was 40 days before this date? (11/11). The Great Awakening. I mean, this was my peace offering to people. That's what I felt on that day. 40 days later, the government partially shuts down. Now, if we go by the world script, and we have a 10-day tribulation from this point on, and then we see a fake rapture happening, New Year's Eve, New Year's Day, that would be their script. Daniel 9, I'll just take this one literal too. It's 70 weeks are determined upon thy people. (70 weeks). And because it's all about the sevens, we'll just punch in 70 months and 7 days. It's all about the sevens. And everything just keeps lining up with December 31st, 2018. Being when the waters are going to be abated. I truly feel that I was 365 days ahead of time when I thought the same exact thing last year. Exactly 365 days later. In the 600th year of Noah's life, and then the 601st year, in the first month, on the first day of the month, the waters were dried up from off the face of the earth. And after that, after the ground was dry, in the second month and the 27th day of the month, the earth was cleansed. Martial law is coming. You think he's kidding? So when these waters are abated, same as it was in the days of Noah, you're going to have 7 days to get into the ark. New Year's Day, 7 days. It's going to rain for 40 days and 40 nights. Second month, 17th day. For yet 10-day tribulation. The waters will be dried. Second month, 27th day of the month. If not, then we're all dead.